With me now, Dorian Rogozenco. Did I say it correctly? I'm sorry.
No, it's Rogozenco. Not okay.
Rogozenco, I'm sorry, because in our German version, which we just had before, I said the name, I think German-wise correctly, but now it's Rogozenco.
Yeah.
So, you are definitely a super coach, a master coach, because you not only have trained the national team, you have brought highest level chess to so many people. How did you grow into the coaching?
Maybe I was also influenced by my own coach, late coach Vyacheslav Chebanenko, because he would look at some essential things in chess very originally in his own way, and probably somehow I was also influenced by it. And generally, I always wanted to analyze some things in chess on my own, and then I was playing in different teams, and then my Romanian team, where I became captain, those young people wanted to some advices, so I started to give advices, and so this is how it slowly it began. Actually, this is maybe also the way now I'm thinking how my wife used to play chess, and she played in our team, and I prepared her for first for the games, then generally, and this is actually now it influenced my somehow my power.
That's so nice.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it, but now I'm remembering it.
You are known as hardworking and diligent, and of course absolutely well prepared, as you probably know already if you've watched some of Dorian's Fritz trainers. This part of yours, is this also part of your coaching method, or what kind of methods are you using especially for coaching?
Well, for me it's clear that generally if you want to make progress in chess, you have to completely concentrate and completely work hard. I'm talking about high-level chess, about some...
Sure.
At the beginning maybe, but still chess is very complex. There very often you ask a question and there is no clear answer. Even what is the best move? E4, D4, knight f3. I mean, even this is not. Is not.
Everybody wishes there would be a clear answer, but apparently it isn't. No?
Yes, the game is very complex, and in such a complex thing, in order to make progress, it's really you have to train a lot. And I usually require at least at some time, at some period, I start to require from the people with whom I work. Complete devotion, and otherwise it doesn't work. Of course, not many, some of them are not prepared, and it's maybe also not bad, but generally if you want really to make progress, you have to give up everything. Or if you just enjoy the game, yes, it's also very okay. Yeah, you enjoy the game, you make maybe slow progresses, make mistakes and analyze it and so on. But generally, I think that if you do something, actually it doesn't have to be chess. Anything, you have to do it good.
Chess. What is your golden nugget or the greatest chess advice you can give to every chess player to get better in chess?
I don't have a golden advice. I think that it's important to know your own weaknesses. So it's not only maybe chess-wise. Of course, chess-wise is always, but sometimes you don't have patience, or you think too long. Why do you think too long? Maybe you don't have enough self-confidence to take a decision. You want to verify it again and again, and it's good when a coach. And I think this is my strongest part because I have a big experience and working with different people, and to see what is the biggest problem. Sometimes one thinks, my problem is opening, or maybe my problem is calculations. I don't calculate, but maybe the problem is the real problem is completely different, and then you don't really make progress, because you are working on the wrong side, and I think for the coach, a good coach, actually, it has, of course, to wake some interest from the pupil to work on chess. But secondly, of course, to see what is important for him now or for her this period of time. What is important. And actually, I also developed as a national trainer when working for many years with a national team, mainly with the men team. Okay, there are people with over 26, so you can't really, so maybe they work only on openings. But how to bring somebody in a good form for a specific competition. And I think in the my late period of national trainer, I have a system of how to individually to work with somebody in order just to bring him to be in his best form for this specific tournament. Because you see somebody plays good at tournaments, next tournament very bad, or one game good and one game bad. And this form is also something which is not studied at all. What means a good form? What means a bad form? It's something nobody would explain. Yeah, okay, if I slept 8 hours, I'm in good form, and if I can't sleep, I'm in a bad form. It's also not correct. So how to bring it? Okay, I have exercises, some exercises, and depending on with whom, and for what competition, for how long, and so on, you should work with this exercise in order just to bring you to a good form. So I think this is a very important very individual approach. At least in my case, it's very individual. I don't work with groups. Only when it was a team before the tournament, but generally it's individual. And actually now I'm remembering that Chabanenko, he also had the approach. 2 is a maximum. So 2 pupil during the training. That's not more than 2.
Okay.
He had one exception when there were 3 girls because they were very good. They all became 2 of them became grandmasters, and but not more than 2 because otherwise it's the level of concentration you lose, and you always expect somebody else to interfere, and it's not the same.
What is your advice on training tactics?
Well, tactics is something like maybe some gymnastics in general. So it's something you should always do, but it's always with different intensity. So you sometimes people think that okay, 1 or 2 moves exercises on the high level they are bad. Not maybe for some specific period of time that's good. Tactics generally is good, but I would suggest that medium difficulty. So every day from light to medium. If you want to specifically to work on tactics and to work on calculations, okay, then it's different stories. And if you want to train calculation, sometimes there are very deep exercises and so on. But generally, I would advise to do it regularly with medium exercises. So medium exercises means something that you need 5 to 10 minutes to solve correctly. So to solve 5 to 10 minutes, so this type of exercise, if you work every day, or let's say 5 days a week, you do it, then you keep always with some kind of level, or you develop a little bit more. But talking about tactics, of course, also theory of how to calculate and which one you have some 2 candidates moves, so with which one to start and how deep to calculate, when to say stop. I can evaluate there's also something which is good when somebody explains it to you. But generally, if you yourself just solve easy exercises, but really solve it. I mean, not just, okay, 1 minute, if I don't solve, I look at the solution. This doesn't bring anything at all. This only actually hurts, because you have the impression that you work, but it doesn't bring you further, and it has only backfires. Yeah.
You're actually giving us an example, but I have one last question before we go and show you at home something very interesting about pawn structures. What advice can you give to people who just began playing chess, who just started, who know the moves, who are maybe having a rating of 1200 or a little bit more, compared to ones who want to reach a title and who are over 2000?
I must say that in my life, I think I had only very few experiences with people who are very, very beginners
Yeah.
at the beginning. But I think it's important to enjoy what you're doing, and this you can do it maybe by playing with somebody. So ideally, somebody watches, or a trainer somehow gives exactly direction which way. But I think that it's important to play some positions with few pieces, yeah, with some endgames, and to see this coordination between pieces, and but in a form that you enjoy it. So either by playing or some competition with somebody in a way, or so somehow to enjoy the process and to learn something. And I think that to learn this coordination between pieces, not necessarily calculation. I wouldn't say it's not calculation. It's this harmony of pieces under supervision of a very experienced trainer. This would be ideal. So I think.
Excellent. Now it's time to look at an interesting position you brought to us, and you will explain it a little bit.
Yes, I wanted to.
So let me once again. Sorry.
Yes, I wanted to, because you mentioned that we'll have a short interview, and I was thinking, okay, what can I concretely show maybe in a short interview?
Yes.
Because everything you can, you need time to explain. Sure. And I wanted to speak a little bit about some strategic elements which people generally think that they know everything about, or they don't need to look at it any deeper. And okay, I took as an example as isolated pawn, isolated queen's pawn, which if I would ask anybody, really anybody, would say, okay, what do you say? What do you know about isolated pawn? I'll say, okay, with isolated pawn, I have to avoid exchange of pieces and try to get some initiative, some pieces play. And against isolated pawn, I have to exchange as many pieces as possible in order then this pawn will be a weakness. Okay, and now I want to show you this example where white did exactly that. This is a classical example. Usually I try to when I'm showing examples to confirm my point, to take classical examples. So okay. This way, yeah, okay, this is a game floor Capablanca. You can also tell your pupil, okay, who was Capablanca and who was floor and so on. So you learn some background. But okay, let's see the position. White has exchanged pieces, and he has a strong knight against a bad bishop. Yeah, everybody, you ask, okay, this is a bad bishop on e6, and white has a strong knight. And so white did everything correctly, but the position is a draw. This is just a draw. So it's, of course, black needs some accuracy, and Capablanca showed actually in this game how to make a draw in such a position. So you can learn really a lot from these classical games. Which means that, okay, what's wrong? So indeed, pawn d5 is a weakness. Yeah, okay, but you can attack it twice, I can protect it twice. What else? Black doesn't have any more weaknesses. How can white win? White can try to make the second weaknesses. This would be the standard, but white is not able to create a second weakness. So if we look at the game, and the game is analyzed with modern engines and so on, it is a draw. So which means that maybe it's not just that simple. Exchange pieces, go into a game where it's a weakness. Because we forgot something, and actually this is Chebanenko what we used to say about isolated pawns, that the king of the weaker side is also an active piece, and it can also come and protect the pawn. It's not only that white, I mean the side against the isolated pawn, has an active king. It's also the defending side. And here I would like, I don't want here, of course, to analyze this complex endgame now, because we don't have time and so on. But I would like to go maybe to the next example to see how Karpov was playing, and maybe to draw some conclusions after that.
What?
Next, yes. So here is a game from Karpov-Spassky. Karpov actually was, he was not, in his best times in 870s and the beginning of 80s, he was clearly the best player in the world. He was a very good strategical player, but he still had some positions which he was extremely strong. And actually, these were positions, according to my observation, this is not something which is a rule or so, that he was very strong against isolated pawns. And you can study, for instance, in 73, I think he played a match, final match of candidates against Korchnoi, where Korchnoi would always play with isolated pawn and Karpov against it. And Karpov would barely succeed to do anything against it. And if you analyze what happens there from the positional point of view, it's very interesting. But okay, let's see this game and see how Karpov here plays. He plays knight e5. Okay, we just watched the game, yeah. Bishop e6, knight takes e6, using a tactical trick. Tactical tricks are always very important in reaching some strategic goals. We don't really realize it, but they very often help a stronger player because he uses these tricks and he reaches his goals, while a weaker player not often makes full use of these small tactical tricks. Here the point is that black cannot take with a pawn on c6, which would be nice for black if he would play next c5. And he would do it normally, but here white has bishop a6 and the rook is caught there. This is a justification of taking on c6. So black has to take back with the rook on c6. And now white improves the position in such a way that he forces black to make further exchanges. Black has here to use the moment and to play knight e4 in this moment. If black will play, for instance, rook d8, white goes away. His next move is rook d2, rook fd1, bishop takes f6, and bishop takes d5. And he actually wins a pawn here. So here, in order not to lose a pawn, black has, this is actually the strongest move also according to the engines. So e4, but now, okay, another actually here now interesting tactical trick. Knight e4, attacking the pawn, white, take on the a3, take, and black has here bishop takes a3 apparently, but white also has a, because yes, resource. This is a very nice tactical trick also. So white again uses this small tactical trick to avoid this kind of simplification. So now black defends and white triples his pieces. And okay, now we see a position where, again, one weakness can be protected, by 4 pieces. 4 pieces, and only 4 pieces can attack it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is what happened. This is what happened in the game. But in this case, we can win this pawn. Very often we can find a way how to weaken the opponent's position, because we want generally, without these 2 bishops, white would win by playing e4, because the rook on d7 is not enough protected. But the bishop on e6 protects this rook, and we need to drive away this bishop and then to play e4. And this is what Karpov did. So okay, the way he did it, it's also very instructive, because he plays first king h2, you will see, and then at some point why he plays king h2 at all, generally. With a prophylaxis, he goes away from the first rank, he goes away from the diagonal a7, g1, just in case. It's a small things which maybe in some tactical complications may work out later. Okay, and then he drives, g5 is not a good move, but and here again, he goes from the diagonal, which potentially will be weak. So he goes away first, then he plays f5, the bishop does not protect the rook on d7 now, and white, and white then plays e4, and the pawn is pinned, and the white wins the pawn. The pawn is pinned. So okay, what did we see here? Why here it worked, and on the other example it doesn't work? Because here we exchange the knight and we keep the long-ranged pieces which attack the pawn. So the rooks are best attackers, and the bishop is from far away, it attacks the pawn on d5. And this is then much easier to exploit in concrete situations. Of course, there are also many ways. In this Karpov-Korchnoi match was when black has to play f5 in order to protect the 4, but then it weakens the king. Or other ways, sometimes white has a pawn on c3 instead of on e3, and white has to play c4, then black has to play b5, then white cannot make progress. There are many things interesting, but okay, which means we want to exchange pieces against an isolated pawn. But ideally, we don't want to exchange all pieces. We want to exchange knights. This would be the best, and to keep the long-ranged pieces, because then we have better chances to use the weakness of the isolated pawn. So such small elements, such deeper things help us better to understand the position or some elements from the position.
Yeah, that is deep stuff indeed, absolutely. So, well, Dorian, I thank you so much again to give your wisdom to all of us. And yeah, you know what to do. The Fritz trainers are out. Get them as soon as they're hot. And yeah, I hope for many more Fritz trainers and for many more interviews with you. It's always enjoyable.
Okay, we'll see. Thank you too.